Hey everybody, thank you for joining us. We're in John chapter 10 today, and we're looking over another one of the I am sayings of Christ. And I love these because Jesus is making the statement that I am divine. I am the Messiah. I'm the one you've been waiting for. And we don't go super deep into these in this setting because I have a series over all the I am sayings of Christ that I'm going to do pretty soon on our Sunday morning gatherings. But we're going through the Gospel of John, so we can't just skip over them because these are scattered all throughout the Gospel of John. And so there are some points I want to make about these. And so John chapter 10, starting in verse 1, it says this: "Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in by another way, that man is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the gatekeeper opens. The sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought all of his own, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of a stranger." This figure of speech Jesus used with them, but they did not understand what he was saying to them. And can we just pause for just a second on verse 6? Jesus is essentially here saying that we're the sheep. And it's so fitting because sheep are known to be pretty unintelligent animals. And it says, so Jesus is kind of saying, like, you don't always make the best decisions. You don't always get it. And then right there in verse 6, it says they didn't understand what he was saying to them. And the truth is we probably don't really understand it that well either. So picking up in verse 7, it says, "So Jesus again said to them," so he has to repeat all of it because they just didn't get it. "So Jesus said to them, 'Truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. He who is a hired hand and not a shepherd, who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep, and he flees, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. He flees because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep that are not of this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So that there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from the Father." Starting verse 19 there, it says, "There was again a division among the Jews because of these words. Many of them said, 'He has a demon and is insane. Why listen to him?' Others said, 'These are not the words of one who is oppressed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?'" So Jesus is appealing to the audience of the day with something that they all understood. He's talking about sheep herding. So they understood the shepherd. They understood the hired hand. They understood taking them in and out of pasture. All of these things that he's talking about, they would have understood because sheep herding was a big business then. This was a part of the economical structure of that time and of that region. So they would understand all of these things that he's saying, even though you and I might not. I would venture to say that most people watching this video probably have never herded sheep before and probably don't even know a sheep herder. So this is maybe some things that don't necessarily make as much sense to us, but it would have made sense to them. And so I just want to talk about some things that Jesus said within these verses, that where he's kind of comparing himself to the shepherd and us to the sheep and the Pharisees to the false leaders. Jesus is making these contrasts between the true shepherd himself and these false leaders, the Pharisees. And so the first contrast that he made is that the shepherd enters through the gate, the thief has to sneak in. The shepherd just gets to go in. He just gets to walk right in like he owns the place, because he does own the place. These are his sheep. The gatekeeper knows this is the shepherd. This is the one who cares most about these sheep. And he just gets to go in, rightfully so, in the rightful, proper way. But the thief has to sneak in. He doesn't get to come in through the gate. He has to sneak in. Anybody who comes in another way, that person is a thief and a robber, Jesus said. And so he's saying that I'm the true shepherd, and I just get to go in because these people know me. These sheep know me. These are my rightful sheep. The thief knows that he's not supposed to be there. The thief knows that these are not his sheep, and so he has to sneak in to try and take control of things. The second one that Jesus gave, the second contrast, the shepherd's voice is recognized. The stranger's voice causes fear and fleeting. The sheep know his voice. And I grew up on a small cattle farm, and we had, I don't know, at one point in time, 30, 40 cows is the most we probably ever had. And it never ceased to amaze me that when we needed the cattle to come in to be vet checked or preg checked, or to get their shots or whatever it is, or maybe just feeding time even, it never ceased to amaze me that it didn't matter where on our farm the cattle were. My grandpa could stand at the gate and he could blow his bullhorn and he could give his signature, "Come on, cows," and they would come. Didn't matter where they were, they'd come running because they recognized his voice. They knew that it was him calling them. They trusted him. They had spent time with him. They knew that it was him because they were his cows and he was their farmer. Now, if I did it, on the other hand, and I can't do it. You just heard my best impression. It just wasn't that good. It wasn't as good as when my grandpa did it. But if I did it, the cattle, they didn't respond. They never showed up. They never came because they didn't know my voice like they knew my grandpa's voice. They didn't recognize my voice like they recognized his voice. And so the sheep recognize the shepherd's voice, but if a stranger tries to talk to them, if a stranger tries to call them, they're gone. They just take off. That causes fear and fleeting. The third thing that Jesus says, the shepherd comes to bring abundant life and salvation. How good is that? Jesus comes because he wants to bring us abundant life. He wants to bring us ultimately salvation. Now don't misunderstand me. This is not saying that abundant life means that you'll never have any problems, that you'll have a life free of financial struggles, free of relationship struggles, free of health issues. That's not what abundant life means. What abundant life means is that you live for something greater than yourself, that you have joy in circumstances where it seems that you shouldn't have any joy. That's the abundant life that Jesus wants to bring, and ultimately he wants to bring salvation to his people. Jesus, the shepherd, wants to save the sheep. Jesus wants to save us. The thief, on the other hand, comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. The motives are different. When the shepherd shows up, he shows up to take care of the sheep. When the thief shows up, he shows up to steal the sheep, to kill the sheep, destroy everything that the shepherd is trying to build. It is a very selfishly motivated thing for the thief. The fourth thing that Jesus says, the shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Did you know that Jesus laid down his life for you? Did you know that a shepherd we have stories of David fighting off lions and bears just to care for his sheep. Man, the shepherd will do anything for his sheep. Jesus laid down his life for you and for me. The hired hand, on the other hand, doesn't really care that much about the sheep. He's just going to run away. He's just going to flee when the wolf shows up. And when you talk about the comparison between Jesus and the Pharisees here, this is where you really, really see it, is on this idea of the sheep laying down his life and the hired hand just running away and fleeing. Jesus is here for us because he loves us, because he cares for us, because he wants to be with us, because he wants us to have salvation. He wants us to have abundant life. And it kind of goes back with the point that I made just a moment ago. The hired hand, the Pharisee, is here because he wants control. I mean, think about it. If the Pharisee really wanted what was best for the people of that day, then they would be saying, yeah, you need to follow Jesus. He's the Messiah. He's doing all of these signs. He's doing all these wonders. He's showing us to himself that he is the Messiah. So if you really want to have a good life, that's who you need to go. They won't even lay down their ego. They won't even lay down their control that they want, much less lay down their life. The fifth contrast that Jesus made is that the shepherd opens the fold to all. Did you recognize that he said, there are more that are not of this fold, and I got to bring them in. I got to go out and get them. I have to leave the 99 to go find the one. The shepherd, Jesus, opens the fold to all. He cares about all. Every single person that has ever lived, every single person that is living now or ever will live, Jesus invites them in. It's his desire that none should perish, that all should come to repentance. It's his desire that all should experience abundant life and salvation. The Pharisees, on the other hand, are very exclusive. They think that there's only certain ones that should be allowed into their fold. They think that there's only certain ones who should be a part of what they have control over. And the last thing that Jesus, the comparison or contrast that he makes, is that the shepherd has true authority. Did you recognize what he said? That he lays down his life and he takes it back up again. He does it on his own authority. Nobody's making him do it. Nobody's telling him he has to. He has authority to lay it down, and he has authority to take it up. He does what he wants. He has complete authority, complete control. The Pharisees have a false identity of control. They think that they have control over the comings and goings of everything that is intertwined with faith. However, that is a false identity. And here's what I need you to understand. No religious leader, no preacher, no teacher, no principal, no boss, no politician, no anybody has authority like Jesus has. We may think that we have this control, but that is a false identity of control. Jesus is in charge of the comings and goings of everything. He is the only one that has true authority over everything. And so we need to recognize that when we think we have control, or when somebody else promises us something, if we just listen to them, if we just follow them, if we just put our hope in this politician, if we just put our hope in this athlete, if we just put our hope in this actor, actress, if we even put our hope in our spouse, they don't have the control or the authority like Jesus has. Only Jesus has true authority. Any other recognition of control is just a false identity except for what Jesus has authority and control over. And the last thing I want to point out is not specifically a contrast, but it is important. Verse 19 says, there was again a division among the Jews because of these words. Do you recognize that almost every time that we end one of these things or we talk about one of these things, somewhere in there, after Jesus has said something or after Jesus has done something, there's a division. It happened then. There was a division amongst them because of what Jesus said. When Jesus takes a stance, when Jesus says something, there's almost always a division. There always was then, but guess what? It still happens today. When we take a stance over what Jesus has said and what His Word declares, there is a division a lot of times. And so here's what you need to recognize. That division exists. Be divided. If that's what it takes, stand on the right side. Stand on the side of what Jesus says and what His authority says, and stand on who He is. And if there's a division, so be it. Our responsibility, you and I, our responsibility is to stand on the truth of God's Word and let Him work out whatever divisions may arise because of that. I hope that you've enjoyed John chapter 10. I hope that you'll show up to community group with us and be a part of studying this with a whole group. We love our community groups. We'd love for you to get plugged into one. And so if you are interested in joining a community group, if you're interested in more information about Horizon Church, if you are interested most importantly in responding to this teaching, following Jesus, please reach out to us. You can email us info@horizonsiloam.com, or you can go to that website, horizonsiloam.com, and there's a box up at the top that says contact. If you'll fill out that form, somebody will get back with you. Thank you all for watching.